Hello, everyone. Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, we'll be doing a review for the Acolyte Episode 3 Destiny. Boy, do we have some stuff to talk about. So, in this episode, we're going to find out more about what happened on Brendok earlier, that these Jedi have really been kind of trying to reckon with now in the present. So, before I get into that, let's talk about the cast. So, of course, we have Amanda Stenberg as May and Osha, but we also have the younger versions of these characters. As we saw in the first episode, we have Lee Young Ye as Master Soul, Charlie Barnett as Yord, but he doesn't really show up in this episode. Daphne Keene does not show either, so Jackie Elon is also not in the episode. We do have the return of Carrie-Anne Moss as Master Indara. Dean Charles Chapman returns as Torben, but as a younger version of him. Jodie Turner Smith, introduced as Mother Anasea. Margarita Leviva as Mother Coral, who happens to be a Zabrak, like Darth Maul. And Jonas Sotomo as Kelnaka. Jonas in the past has been the body performer for Chewbacca, so he's definitely a Wookiee expert. All right, we're gonna get into spoilers, but before that, I gotta say this was a very good episode. Really following up on the threads from that have been set up in the previous two. I almost wish they had given us a 3 episode premiere because this really felt like a more complete part of the story. More like just it set up some really interesting things, but also really allowed us to wonder what, like, really understand the premise of the show, like what the thesis is going to be, right? Like, are the Jedi, what did the Jedi do? They definitely did something bad happen back then. And how do these girls come into play? So yeah, highly recommend. If you weren't on board with the last two, hopefully this one kind of turned you around. If you're still not on board with it, I don't know, like maybe this show's not for you. So yeah, let's go back to Brendok, 16 years earlier. We explore a young May and Nosha's relationship, right? Even though these girls are twins and they're being raised together, like any siblings, like they don't necessarily like want to be around each other all the time. Although that's more on Osha's side. I think she's more of an individualistic character, whereas May, like, she really just wants to fulfill her duties, become, go through these rituals that her coven is doing, and just be with her sister. That's the main thing, that she just wants to be with her sister. As they prepare for some sort of ascension ritual, May, we can see that it's very strong with the Force, which at the coven they refer to as the thread. Mother Anasea goes into a whole diatribe of like, here's why the thread and how we use it, and how, once you tug on it, you really can change your destiny, which is very interesting. It's a very interesting approach to what we know as the Force. But obviously, it looks like the Coven. It feels like the Coven uses the Force for more than just like the stuff that the Jedi had been using it. Uh, there's a really fun scene with Maya and Osha, where you hear motifs of the theme of the Force by John Williams, which makes perfect sense because the show is trying to make you understand that these two girls are very powerful when it comes to the thread or the Force or their connection to that. So that was very cool. Like, I don't normally notice music cues, but I mean the Force theme is so recognizable. Like, it was just like the first opening notes, and then of course it goes into like a completely different, not completely different song, but just a different, musical theme there. So during the ceremony, before Osha is able to complete her part of the ritual, the Jedi arrive. So does May does go through the ritual. That's how she got the tattoo or the mark on her forehead that we've seen now in the present. Soul offers, and this is a young Soul. I think I love how they put the different wigs on these actors, and they're like, "Yeah, there you go. Now you are 16 years younger, right?" That's as much as you do as the de aging technology. Also, uh, Torben looks like that's, the age that the character's kind of supposed to be around. I mean, I think the actor's a little older, but he's supposed to be playing somebody who's a Padawan at the time. which really makes me wonder what the heck were they thinking with that makeup uh, in the last episode when he's supposed to be older, right? Maybe to be around sometime in his 30s. But of course, Dean Charles Chapman is a younger actor, so like they had to put some makeup on him to make him look older. But I don't know. I mean, they're aliens. Like, do we need to age them up? Like, I think just having a beard would probably suffice in me thinking like, okay, that's an adult. um that's really interesting. Some of the things that this show gets wrong are just like so weird. Like even with, I'm not gonna criticize child acting, but we've seen some really good child actors in Star Wars, and the two girls here, I think they're doing a good job. But sometimes it does feel like, oh, these are really just child actors. um but yeah, Soul offers Osha to be tested to become a Jedi, and Mother Coral is against it. So there's a lot of mysteries that they start having inward conversation as to how these worlds they were created. Um, it was said that Mother Anastasia created them and Mother Coral carried them as like babies. So do we have some like force manipulation or like thread manipulation to create life, similar to another individual that we'll see in about 100, yeah, about 100 years or so? Interesting enough. I mean, we do have pretty much kind of confirmation that Palpatine manipulated the Force to kind of create Anakin. It's in the comics. Like that's something that they've really explored there. So also, there's a lot of rules by the Republic that Jedi can just take children, and it's really weird. Like that part, I just wrote on my notes. Why are the Jedi just taking children? Like why is that a right that they have? And also, why can children not get training from anywhere else? That's also a rule from the Republic. Now obviously the Covenant insists that Brandok is not part of the Republic, so they don't need to abide by that. But Mother Anastasia acquiesces and realizes that she has to let the girls choose what they want to do. And of course, Osha is very excited about being tested and maybe becoming a Jedi, whereas May, like her path seems to have been carved in stone, like from like in her brain from a very young. Like she wants to lead this coven, she wants to go through that. So uh really fun scene where before the test they take a blood sample. So like I just wrote in my notes, yeah, midichlorians, let's go. Because it was the same device Qui-Gon used to test Anakin back in the prequels. um I guess forward in the prequels, since that this is before that. um Also, Osha had been advised to lie so that she wouldn't pass the test, but she's very easily tricked into being honest, which is just really fun. She has a small interaction too with Kalnaka, which I think is really interesting. Hopefully, they have a connection. I hope that when you see Kalnaka, and one really fun detail is that Kalnaka has a as a young, I guess the younger version of Kalnaka has his head shaved, but it looks so weird too because like Wookiees are super hairy. So he still has like the braid going back, like in the front, but I don't know. It looks really disturbing. Um, so yeah, Osha passes. She's going to leave with the Jedi. There's a really powerful scene with, I think Margarita Leviev is such a great actor. They have a really good scene with the girl, and she's ready to accept that her daughter is probably destined for greater things. Very emotional stuff. So as Osha's getting ready, May just realizes that she's not gonna let her go, even if she has to kill her. Literally, she tells her that. So yeah, May's not playing around. She starts a fire, and then this fire kills everyone? Question mark. I don't know. We don't get to see all that. There's something of this recollection of events is from a certain point of view. To quote Obi-Wan. But I don't think this is exactly what happened. I think we're gonna dive back into. I think we're gonna revisit the events that happen here. Um, so yeah, explosions everywhere. Soul ends up taking Osha, being able to save her and not being able to save May from falling. And then we wake up. Osha wakes up in the ship as they're heading back to Coruscant with the Jedi. Now, interestingly enough, I had to rewind it a few times. Torben seems to have scars in his face, and then going back to last week's episode, Torben does have some scars in his face. So like something happened that damaged Torben, which means that the Jedi, I, to me, my theory, I guess, my thinking is that the Jedi attacked the Coven, um, and then also the fire broke out at the same time, so they kind of use that as their cover up. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I think there's there's a really beautiful scene where Soul tells Osha like, "If you come with us, you know you'll never have to feel like this," because she had literally just lost everything, including her mother, her sister, all the people she grew up with, her coven. So like, yeah, really, really like just hits hard. So it was a really good episode. I really wish they had put this in at the beginning because I think more people would have been a little bit more satisfied. If they weren't satisfied enough, I had enough happening in the last two that I was, pretty content with the series. But I saw some criticism online and legit criticism, not just people hating on the show. So yeah, I think this one really picks up. But it really also left us with a lot more questions and answers. So I don't know what's gonna happen next. Either way, very excited. So if you've seen this episode of The Acolyte, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff here in the channel. And as always, may the force be with you. Bye bye.